we will now be doing a process, the explanation, the steps as to how to go about doing the completion. This is known as the Swapoornatva Kriya. Swa is self, Purnatva is completion, and Kriya is the process. How do we do a self completion, a completion with ourselves? That is the process. Sit alone. Let nobody be there around you. Sit with mirror or just sit with yourself. Decide with integrity, authenticity, responsibility and enriching that you declare completion with this process. Sitting with the declaration, you will reclaim the part of you which is sitting in many people, many things outside you is the most important. The next step is reliving wherever your emotions are stuck, patterns in which you are stuck, the incidents which have created a strong impact in you, and the cognitions you created deeply in you. Reliving all of them, and that is the way you reclaim all of them. Listen, reliving all your inadequate cognition in all the moments of your incompletion, you can reclaim and become complete. This is the next thing. Thereafter, deciding, cognizing, whenever your incompletions happened, the personality who created the incompletion and the personality who is now in your body are two different. So healing that personality which created the incompletion and assimilating means relating with that person, saying that, oh, 6 years of me, my version which is 6 years old, 6 years of me, please understand, at that time your cognition was inadequate. Now you have an expanded cognition. So please come on and dissolve into this expanded cognition. Let us become one with this expanded cognition. Ask your small version of you, ask your 6-year-old version of you, ask your junior of you, ask that beautiful little child in you, is your cognition adequate? Or the cognition which I am having now, is that adequate? Whichever is adequate, we will just merge with that. When you do completion with your past, if you remember the incident happened at the age of 3 and you feel there is no incompletion about it, it happened but you feel you are beyond it, then your cognition has grown after 3. If you remember the incident at the age of 7 and again you feel that there is no load or weight about it and your cognition has grown beyond that year of 7. If you remember the incident at the age of 10 and you feel heavy and you feel the logic with which you suffered still matters for you, please listen. At the age of 10, the logic of name and fame, the other's opinion about you, the cognition of others' opinion about you was responsible for the incompletion inside you, and still if you feel that others' opinion, cognition matters for you, you have not grown after the age of 10. At the age of 10, the inadequate cognition which created incompletions in you, and even now if at that same point others' opinion creates incompletion in you and you are not able to get out of that logic, you have not grown after the age of 10. How many of you are able to cognize what this is? Now you know what is your conscious age, the age of your cognition. Completion is not apologizing. We come to the other part now. Please understand, completion is not apologizing. Understand, in completion you may apologize not because you feel powerless, but because you feel powerful now. Not because at that time you made some mistake, but because in those days you had an incomplete cognition. As a law of life, your cognition will continue to grow. As a law of life, you will continue to expand. Then now you have only two choices. One, Either you go on crying about your past as a wrong mistake, or you can look at the whole thing as an inadequate cognition and raise your cognition level. It's as simple as that. When you complete, you do not have apologetic mood. You do not feel the guilt that you have done something wrong. Not because if you feel guilty, you will not go through all the past and complete with it. Because even one or two will make you so tired, you will be agitated and irritated. You will think, what is this? Why should I do this? So you will develop a subtle hatred towards completion. I repeat, because if you feel guilty, you will not go through all the past and complete. Because even one or two will make you so tired, you will be agitated and irritated. You will think, what is this? Why should I do this? So you will develop a subtle hatred towards completion. You have not done anything wrong in the past, but it was just inadequate cognition. You expecting you should have adequate cognition from childhood is impractical expectation in this society. So, the first thing you need to understand is completion is not feeling guilty about your past. Remembering your past only as an inadequate cognition and completing it so that the decisions and the patterns you developed during the inadequate cognition does not need to continue to exist in your present inner space and affect your life even now. If you are bored, unhappy and do not want to sit for completion, be very clear you are not completing. You are just sitting with your past guilt and just brooding over. Just brooding over. Understand? Completion is not apologizing. Same way, when you're completing with others, don't be in an apologetic mood. You're not apologizing. Sometimes apologizing may happen. See, many times only if you feel powerless, if you fall into the powerless mode, do you apologize. Don't fall into the powerless mode. Sit powerfully. Remember very clearly when you had those powerless moments, some parts of you have been stuck with others. Now you are reclaiming those parts. For example, if I had a fight with my elder brother when I was 6 and still that memory is there in me, that fear is there in me, feeling is there in me, means still that 6-year-old child is influencing me. So all I am trying to do is I am liberating myself from that fear pattern which I created at the age of 6, which happened due to fighting with my brother. I am not going out and apologizing to my brother. Oh, sorry, at that time I beat you, now I apologize. No. You may apologize at some time, but completion itself is not apologizing. It is like making the other person understand and making yourself understand that fighting in the young age created a strong, fearful, powerless pattern in you which is responsible for still you struggling, suffering with the wrong cognition, improper, inadequate cognition about you now. Completion means shifting the cognition from an inadequate cognition which is restrictive to an expansive cognition which expands you and the other person. When you do completion, you realize many of the immature, inadequate cognitions you had. With that, the sufferings you created for yourself, and you will also understand and realize many cognitions that you have now. You will realize many of them are immature and inadequate cognitions in the near future. So now itself start developing an adequate cognition. Another thing we need to know is that everything has their embassy in your DNA. It's a very, very beautiful concept, a very beautiful truth. Understand the sun has an embassy in your DNA. The moon has an embassy in your DNA. You don't need to go to the moon to complete with the moon. You don't need to go to the sun to complete with the sun. They have an embassy in your DNA itself. Complete with their embassy within you. They will carry it to the sun or the moon. The whole macrocosm has its embassy in your microcosm. So complete, it is just that you make yourself complete with this kind of a cognition.